Do, 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 do. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, da, ba. Ba, ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, da, boom, ba. Shoo, ba, boom, ba, 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 ba. Shoo, do, do, do. Shoo, da, do, do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shoo, ba, boo, da. Ba, ba, boo, da. I'm just getting things ready for you. I'm getting ready for you. Ooh, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for you. Shoo-ba-dee boo-ba, shoo-ba-dee boo-ba, shoo-ba-dee boo-ba, shoo-ba-dee boo-ba, shoo-ba-dee boo-ba, shoo-ba-dee boo-ba. I'm getting ready for you. Ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Baby, I'm getting ready for you. Ooh, now just wait for me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I wanna be for you now, baby. Don't you know it's Uzi? Uzi, shoobody boop 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 bop. It's Uzi, boop bop boop bop beba. It's Uzi, baby. That do that do that. It's Uzi, baby. An Uzi, baby. It's Uzi. What's up, Uzi? Oh my goodness gracious! Long time no talk, Uzi. Oh, thank you. I appreciate. I appreciate that. I got some stuff going on every now and then. You know, sometimes I'm in the mood for singing. I'll just do a little happy tune. Oh my god! I'm sure you've heard Shoe Body Boo Bop. It's so good. It's just a little ditty. I love little ditties like that. It's just like Shoe Body Boo Bop, Shoe Body Boo Bop, Shoe Body Boo Bop, bop 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 bop, Shoe Body Boo Bop 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 Bop. Yes, things have been good. I'm on a solid shift schedule now with work, so I've been doing things with work and whatnot. So today is my day off. Tomorrow's gonna be my day off, so that's technically my weekend. Uzi says my mic finally arrived. My other package hasn't arrived yet. Fantastic, fantastic, Uzi. I'm glad that that has arrived. Hopefully, you'll get to mess around with it, do all the things, and like I said, I am looking forward to you going live so I can hear that sweet, sweet, that sweet voice, that sweet Uzi voice. Do you like it when I talk deep and dark like this? All right, nice. Um, yeah, obviously I played the crap out of Zenless Zone Zero so far. So we're just taking a break from that. I still need to do my dailies and stuff, but that can happen at any point in time today since I am off today. So basically my Sundays and Mondays off. I'm going to try and do some artwork. Try. I gotta be motivated. I'm slightly motivated today. And it's really because, as the title has shown, we are going to be learning a new style of art. And how do we learn a new style of art? Well, it's going to be very interesting. Now, of course, I'm going to be giving credit where credit is due as best as possible. So yeah, so like I said, I've just been getting prepared. I know I'm already starting the stream, but hey, maybe my 15 followers need some time to actually get into chat, right? You know, whatever. Actually, I think it was like 18, so like 3 people left me. Oh no, I feel so sad. Cry. All right, no, not a problem. I don't give a shit. Like I said, I just do this for fun. It's nice just to even have one person. I mean, hell, Uzi's enough for me. Uzi's always gonna be enough for me. But Uzi, if you didn't watch like one of my last streams with Zenless Zone Zero, I actually pulled your boy. I pulled your boy, Uzi. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Uzi. I pulled your boy. I pulled Vaughn. Vaughn is in the character roster. Yes, that's right. Major furry male action. Yes. Yes, I pulled Vaughn, Uzi. I did. I got him. I got him. All right, let's get something interesting on the screen, huh? Let's put some interesting stuff on the screen here. So as I had said, I have been incredibly interested in uh oh, I wish he stepped on me. Oh, believe me, dude, he's a big boy. And I'm not meaning, well, I don't know if he's big in that way, but you know what I'm saying. I'm saying he is probably, I think he's the tallest other than Ben. It's either Ben or Vaughn. They're the tallest characters in the game. Like, they're enormous. They're big boys. Big boys. So first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to play some music, and we're going to make sure that my voice to music ratio is good. So let's go ahead and put that music up here. Now, today, the music is brought to you by White Bat Audio, of whom the artist for that is Karl Casey. Karl Casey spelled K-A-R-L, so it starts with a K, and then Casey, C-A-S-E-Y. Karl Casey can be found on Bandcamp.com. He's a wonderful artist. He does a lot of synthwave stuff. He does some metal things here and there. He's a varied artist. He puts out a lot of content. Many and more of his music you can actually buy for free. But of course, I always encourage anybody to at least toss $1 or so his way for a song if you want to get it. And of course, it is completely royalty free, so we can use it on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, doesn't matter. He absolutely allows it. He just asks that you simply credit him like I am now. And so I think that's very simple, very, very easy to do for someone like Karl Casey. So there you go. And then also the artwork today. Yes, the artwork today is, like I said, I've been playing a lot of Zenless Zone Zero, not for the simple fact of actual gameplay, right? Because gameplay is cool. Gameplay is awesome. I'm going to throw this over here. I don't know why that's over there, but there it is. Gameplay is awesome, right? But like I said, I'm also doing it for the art aesthetic and kind of just learning how these characters are and how they look in game and all these things. And now I haven't really done like a big, what you could call like huge analysis of these characters and their postures and poses and their general makeup artistically. But that's what we're going to be doing today. So the following artwork is, of course, by Hoyoverse, right? We are not going to be, per se, replicating anything, right? We are using this as a Creative Commons as a learning experience. This is for educational purposes. I am not doing this. I'm not copying their art to make money or anything like that. It is to teach artists and anybody who's interested in art to be able to maybe find a style and grab something that they really like and learn how to do it. But of course, we're trying to also be realistic here, right? I will never be able to be in front of a Hoyo artist and be able to be on a video call with Hoyoverse with one of their artists and them teaching me how they do their artwork. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And so we have to learn through deconstruction, reverse engineering on the artwork that exists to learn how they got to the points that they got to. And it's really the only way that artists these days can truly learn, other than, of course, those who are willing to pass on that knowledge, like me. And of course, for free, right? I believe in free education, free knowledge. Everyone deserves to have a chance to learn for free without any sort of monetary value involved. So that's just my personal opinion on that. Needless to say, so what we want to do here is, again, we are going to go through the paces today and learn how to make a new style for yourself. Now, like I said, Hoyoverse and its character design is god tier. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care if you're negative about Hoyoverse and the way that it conducts its games. I don't care if you feel good, bad, it doesn't matter. One thing can be said, though. The artistic direction of Hoyoverse's characters, level design, scenery, and even character personality, in my personal opinion, are god tier. Why? Because there has really not been a whole lot of games out there, especially in the anime universe, where every character feels definitely like an individual, and every character you want to know more about them. And so it's fantastic. They're wonderful. You can't give enough credit to Hoyoverse for the artistic direction. So again, like I said, let's go ahead and play some music, and I'm going to do some voice testing real quick to make sure the music's not too loud. Uzi, you let me know if music to voice ratio is off. I trust in you. All right. So music is on. I'm talking. I just want to make sure my mic is going good. I have my own stream up, of course, because it's really weird to hear the few seconds before myself. So let's see what's going on. We got some big bass. We might have to turn it down a little bit. Let's go ahead and turn that down a little bit. Yes, we're going to have to go down. Down, 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 down. All right, let's do this. We just want a nice, soft background, right? Again, this is by Carl Casey. Carl Casey in his Synthwave LA mix. All right, so listening real quick. I think the music is coming good in the background. It just should be just very subtle. Yeah, we don't want the music overbearing. So Uzi, as I'm going through here, please let me know if I need to adjust up and down. I appreciate you, Uzi. You never have to do this, by the way. You never have to help me with my own stream. But you are here, and so I just want to ask you because you're my friend. You're my friend. All right. So, the first order of operations when you are a fledgling artist and you really want to learn a style. Let's just say you just, oh my god, I love Studio Ghibli. I love Dragon Ball Z. I love this. I love that, right? And you just think that the character designs and they're just so fantastic. But dear Lord, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to draw like them. It's going to be a very obvious answer here. So first, we're going to go ahead and open. Let's see here, desktop, and this screenshot here. Open. Look who's on screen, baby. Look who's on screen. It's our favorite. It's our favorite girl. It's the one we were introduced to from the beginning. It is Anby. Again, I'm giving credit, of course, where credit is due. Everyone knows this is property of Hoyoverse, right? Hoyoverse owns Anby, owns everything about it. This is the official artwork for Anby. This is not a fan art. This is not someone else who's done Anby or anything like that. This is official artwork from Hoyoverse. Okay? We got to get all that out of the way. Because again, we are using this for Creative Commons. We are not doing this to make money off of it. I'm not selling any of this artwork. It is for learning purposes only. I cannot disclaim this enough. It's got to be put in there. It's got to. Because I cannot be a hypocrite, right? Even if I get monetized on, Twitch and stuff like that, this is all learning experience. I will never be selling any of this artwork. It is just for learning. Just for learning. Okay. So, Anby. Like I said, just God tier character creation. I love everything about any of the character. It didn't matter what character. It was hard to actually pick a character to want to replicate and understand how they got the designs for Anby. And of course, really the core construction of this is the anatomy. I would say Anby, let's see here. Hoyoverse has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe that Hoyoverse has 6 bases, meaning that they have 6 fundamental core anatomical characters or bases that they use, because Anby has the same base as Soldier 11, has the same base as Evelyn and other things, right? Like there's a lot of characters that share her model. It's just obviously the hair and the clothing and eyes change and stuff like that to make them a truly unique character. And really knowing that base is what's going to give us an incredible amount of power to make our own characters. Let's see here. Uzi says, if I'm being honest for myself, I feel like the music should be a bit higher, like a smidge. I don't know if it's my brain or when it's too low, it just ends up bothering me. Okay, let's turn up just a little bit. Let me try my actual volume on my desktop. So we're going to boost that up to 80. And you let me know how that works out. All right, so I'm at 80 volume on my own desktop. Such good synthwave music too. So it's a pleasure to listen to. Carl Casey does such a good job with synthwave. Very good. Like I love the pace of it too, because it allows you to just kind of focus on your art and whatever you're focusing on. Good study music. All right, let's go up to 90. There we go. We're at 90%. 90% volume. And there we go. That's at 90. We're going to leave it right there. Uzi, let me know if I need to turn it up or down. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. So like I said, we really need to, and like, you know, it's so crisp. Like the line work on Ambi, if we go really deep into here, and we're going to analyze this, right? This is going to be a slow process. Everything is going to be slow. I do not like speeding through this stuff. She uses, the artist uses a very thick outer line. So like, let's go to like an 8. That's a little too big. Let's do 6. Slightly big. Maybe it might be a 4. Yeah, so it's a 4 thickness. And we can just trace over this to verify. Yeah, so they use a 4 thickness for the complete outside of the character, which is good. You want a nice thick, too big. That's what she said. Too big. Ambi, I don't think Ambi would ever say it's too big. I don't think Ambi would ever say that. And then for this inside lines, these inside lines right here, as you notice, they're much thinner. So they're probably a level 2. Yeah. So we've already learned something about the Hoyoverse artist. Just by figuring out line thickness. Yeah, she never said that. So we've already learned something about Hoyoverse's artist. Is they use a size 4 for their outside line work and use a size 2 for their inside line work. These are very important things if you want to try and emulate a style. So to emulate Ambi as best as possible, we are going to be taking mental notes that once I'm done with my final phases, that I need to use a size 4. And if I do anything on the inside of the body, it needs to be a size 2. Pretty easy. Pretty simple. Right now we're at the simple construction. We're just learning right now. We're just learning about all of what we're seeing right now. What's going on. I do like that we do have some gradient separation. So we have a light gradient here, and then a heavy hard line, hard light right there. And then I don't think this is a cut in the fabric. I think this is actually a highlight spot, because we see that same highlight spot down over here as well. You know, I'm trying to point as best as I can to it. That's why I'm using blue on this black, because it's a lot easier to see. So we have a highlight point there that is pink, and then we have the highlight point right there as well. And so these are not rips in clothing. We know this. And then the shoes, I love her fucking shoes. Her shoes are incredible. This design work on this shoe is, again, fucking god tier, dude. Like, again, I would be hard pressed myself to figure out a shoe like this. This is so cool. And this makes me really appreciate the artists, because again, it takes an incredible amount of imagination to be able to come up with these clothing ideas and to make this clothing just pop the way it does. I mean, it looks very busy right here, right? This is very busy, but as an artist knows, any artist knows, all you have to do is just slow down, slow way down. And like I said, we're just analyzing this and figuring out things. So this is actually a hoodie. Did not know this was a hoodie. That's pretty cool. Got the little drawstrings here. Very nice. There's a little choker. Again, all this is in number 2, by the way. This is all number 2 line. I'm using number 4, but if I go drop down to number 2, see, I can emulate this just fine. And I can still use a number 2 here, right? But I just need to remind myself that when I'm doing my final line art, I just need to go to a number 4. Just a small line for nose. We have our major highlight for the side of the face. So our light source is coming from this direction. Very easy, very simple to understand. Really, you know, this is the best part too about really analyzing these things, of how few colors are actually being used. If we look at this, this is 1 color here, 2 color here, and a third color right there. And a fourth and a fifth. That was a terrible number 5. This is number 5. Yeah, just 5 colors in her hair. I mean, that's nothing. Oh, we have, yeah, so let's see here. Let's see this. I have this one right here. I think no, it's the same one. That's the same color as number 3. Yeah, we don't even have we do have flashing. So this is her back hair. Flashing is always going to be some sort of shade of blue. And so again, this is just experience coming out, right? So flashing is reserved for the darkest areas. It sounds really fucking weird to say that, right? The darkest areas of your artwork, if you want to continue to have ambient lighting, you need to add a source of blue light. Blue light is a form of shadow. I really don't know how to explain it better than that, but most things are not completely black unless it's in the light, which is weird to say this. Again, there's a lot of strange things, like we have this pure black spot right here, right? Well, which of course we know this is part of the headphones. So the headphones are continuing down right here and so on and so forth, and there's some black spots here and there, whatever. The point of this being is that because the color of the headphones are black, really this is the true color. And so we don't need to add flashing to it. We could if we wanted to. I mean, that's up to us. We could if we really wanted to, we could add some flashing here. Just to give you that example, if we highlighted this, right? That was a terrible highlight. Let me do this again. And then we grab our airbrush and let's take that down a little bit. See, we could add some flashing there if we really wanted to. It's not necessary though, and that might be hard to see, I'm not sure, but as you can see here, we just added like a little bit of blue, so it's pure black, and then we added just a tad bit of blue. And if we zoom out, you know, granted it's not very well fitting because the blue that's used back here is not the color that I'm clearly using. So let's do something a little bit more. Let's do a color match. There we go, color matched. And then do it again. And there you go. So now we just gave that pure black area some of that flash that you see back there. And, you know, is what it is. And of course, I would continue this everywhere else that I saw black areas in the artwork. But this is not necessary. This is completely flavor at this point in time. This is just your flavor. This is just things that when you start doing a lot of artwork that you'll just start to realize, like, oh, we know what, why we could just do a little flashing right there and make it a little bit more uniform and so on and so forth. Completely up to you. Clearly this artwork does not need any further assistance. What I do find interesting is that they are using a hard light glow on the skin. This is very unique because most of the time in anime, they don't even go really that far. So let's go ahead and color match this. And we do that, and that's more so what you'd see in an anime, right? That you wouldn't have that warm glow on the arms and stuff. They really don't go that far. And so the fact that they have that is definitely unique to this artist. And again, if you like that kind of style, by all means, you know, incorporate it into your artwork. And it should be very thin too. Like, they did a great job. Like, this might be actually, again, I don't want to critique this at all. There's no room for me to critique this at all. But we could thin it out. Like, it's a little loud. Whew. Like subtleness. But again, I mean, it's nice. So it's, you know, it's, again, I have no say in this. I have no say in how this works. But it's just it's interesting. It's interesting that that's what they chose. Was a warm glow in these areas. far as clothing is concerned, clothing is also very simple. You got 1, 2 colors, 1, 2 colors. You got this white line that is part of the actual design of the clothing. If we slide along here, you can see that my color wheel is like changing colors, right? So they do have a gradient, which is usually formed because you have a dark color, and then you do one of these, right? You use your brush and then you create a gradient. So they probably have a very light gradient going through there, but for the most part, it's pretty solid. Let me get my red pen out here. So they got 1 color there. Ooh, that's big, too big brush size. So 1 color. 2, this is very hard to see, but there is a distinct border like this right there. That's second color. Third color, which this would be the base color. This is the base for sure. Third color is base. And then we have a 4th color, which is highlight. A 5th color right here, very hard to see, but that is a major highlight. And that's about it. Again, we're only using 4 to 5 colors. And really, all of this can be achieved with just hard light. So as an example, just to prove to you, so let's go ahead and take Ambi's base color, and we're gonna make a big old freaking like circle right here. Yeah, right there. And then we're going to, now we're not even going, oh, well, actually I need to make a separate layer. We're gonna make a separate layer, and then boop. Perfect circle. Perfect circle. All right, so now we're going to add another layer, and as you know, if you watched any of my artwork, we're going to clip to the layer below. So everything we do here only goes to this layer right here. As you can see, if I blink it off, this eyeball right here goes gray because that layer is now gone. So everything I do here is exactly that way. Now, there's a lot of different ways to learn how your favorite artist likes to shade. The first one, of course, is color matching, right? So we color matched this, and then we know that their second shade color is this color here. And it's one that takes over most of the artwork. So let's go ahead and put the brush size down a little bit and just simply do this. Oops, my bad. Let's select that layer and do this. See that? See, there is a different color there. You might not notice it, but it is there. So let's go ahead and just make a little shade. And then we're going to color match this one here. And of course, this is the major shadow. So this is the darkest the shadow will ever be. So that would be something more like this. Just trying to feel it out a little bit because I want to kind of get an idea of. Let's see here. It looks like they do have another color over here as well. But that's fine. We're learning the basics. There we go. So there's that. So that's of course our light source for this is actually completely opposite to this one. But needless to say, the light source is coming from this direction. And then the next thing you can do is then you have your highlight. So this is a highlight color that they chose. This one should be the same. Yes, it is. And this one is the same as this one. Yes, it is. Approximately. Not quite. So they have some gradient stuff that they do. Perfectly fine. We're just trying to get the idea, right? We're just getting ideas. We're learning how they do their highlights. And then since it's a highlight on the surface there, it's going to be something like this. And so essentially we have created what they call a swath or a color palette. And so we could have this little ball right here just hanging in the balance. And if we were to color Ambi in, then we could just reference this ball at any point in time and grab one of these colors and do the shading that way. Right? That's what we can do. So that is one idea of shading. And then of course we can blink it on and off anytime we want, or take the whole layer away. So that's one version of how you can do color matching and shading. The next idea here, and we're going to grab that base again, And then we're going to increase our size, make a, ooh, that's a little big. That's a big circle. Right there, that's good. Boop. Okay. Is using hard light. Now, hard light is a little harder to like match up as far as like the colors, but when you have a reference, it's not that hard. So it's better to show than to explain. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to add another layer, and we're going to clip that layer below. So now we have the clipped layer. And now we're going to actually go over here to our grayscale. And you know how much I love grayscale. I love grayscale. So we're going to just go over here. We can pick whatever we want really, but we want to be, for shadows, we want to be at 50% or lower. Usually going pure black is nice, but we do want to kind of just start off with just a darker gray color. So not quite pure black, but definitely not going towards the light, because that's actually a different thing. So we want to go towards that little shadow. Let's just do something like this. So we got 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. That's perfect. All sevens right across at the bottom colors there. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So now we're actually going to take this layer that we made and go to hard light. So you see this little box right here. This is, of course, in Clip Art Studio Pro. So when you select your layer, you'll have this little box up here. You see like norm. You can drag this box out and you'll see more letters. So normal. We click that drop down box and we go to hard light. So now you see here that this layer has become 100% hard light. So watch what we do. So let's just say we want to shade this circle. Whoop. All right, shaded the circle, and there you go. Now, hard light is, of course, like all you're really doing when you go to like grays and stuff like that is, again, you're choosing the amount of darkness in the shadow. That's what you're doing. You choose the amount of darkness of the shadow. Then, let's just say, well, obviously, if this is Ambi's second color, which is let me make another layer here for showing things, which is this color here, right? Oops, let's make this red. So this is Ambi's second color right there. Well, clearly, this color here does not match the one above. This is where your opacity comes into play. So now we can really adjust things and take this opacity slider right next to the hard light, and we'll just start bringing it back. And then, of course, I'm just using my eyeball here, you know, and we know that it's very faded. It's not like an exact thing here, but we could do something like that, right? That's pretty close. I think that's pretty close. And so what this allows us to do is, especially if you do this for every single shadow that we're working on, right? We can use the same thing too. Like I can go back to the 7777, right? That's 779, but okay, I got it. I was able to achieve it. Yay. And we can make another layer and clip it to the layer below. So now we have two layers that are clipped. Simply make my hard pass like this. Oops, my bad. I forgot a step. Silly me. We need to go to hard light, and then whoop. This is not to be perfect. This is just examples. And then from there we can lighten it up or do something else, and go from there. Likewise, if we add another layer, clip it below, hard light, and then we go to the other side of the spectrum. So we can start going to these very light colors that does the, you know, go towards the color white, and we put that on there, right? Like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So that's hard light, but we can fade this and match a highlight that we might like. And so likely, you know, this isn't an exact representation of the colors that Ambi has. And most people are going to choose, you know, this. Woo. Let me go back to. There we go. Most people are going to choose this way, especially if they're doing fan art, right? if we're doing fan art and stuff like that, or if we're really trying to capture this character, and like, let's just say we really want to put her in a new pose, most people are going to choose this right here because they are the exact colors. There is no color differentiation. This is Ambi's colors. But for those that are wanting to do custom work, right, and just kind of get close to the colors or whatever the case may be, or you find Ambi in different like lighting situations, other artists will choose this way. Because then we can choose our light. We can choose how dark that shadow is. We can change it up and do all sorts of things. Uzi says, hey man, I'm going to have to go soon, which sucks. Since I've been so busy, I've been looking for work and been going on errands. I'll drop by again if I can, and if not, I hope you have a wonderful stream. Ka-chow, question mark. Uzi, I always appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming in, even for the little bit that you did. It is awesome to just hear from you. So do what you need to do. Relax, chill, go do the things, and I'll catch you next time. Ka-chow, Uzi, ka-chow. And so, you know, there's different ways of achieving the color palettes, doing shadows, so on and so forth. And again, it's all about what you want this piece to emulate. Obviously, there's more colors here, especially when you get into these shaded areas. But you might be surprised that they probably used hard light. Because as we see here, right? So let's just take this hoodie, for instance. So this hoodie, this part right here is incredibly dark compared to this area here, and this area is about the same as up here. But obviously we were using this area as our base, but noticing that there is a shadow play back here. Let me show you something real cool. So this was the shadow, right? Let's get rid of all this noise. I'm gonna delete this layer. All right. Make sure I'm at the right thing, right? Okay. Create another layer. And make sure to clip to layer below. And then we'll take our airbrush. We can do this many ways, by the way. Many ways. I like to try and get something similar to the size of the area that I'm about ready to work with. And we're just going to go... Oops. I didn't make it... Oh, boy. I need to make it a hard light. So we made that layer. And we're going to go to hard light. Make sure it is a hard light layer. See what happens? Basically, what this teaches you is that you can color the entirety of Ambi in let's go all the way forward real quick. You know, the entirety of Ambi in this color scheme right here, right there, and just simply add hard light over top of it when you want an area to be dark. Because if we look at this ball, right? Let's go ahead and move this ball. Let's move the whole layer. I don't think I can. That's a different subject for a different day as far as that one goes. Okay. We're not far off. Clearly the artist has, you know, their own envisionment of like I guess this would be a version of flashing right here. But needless to say, we could achieve something very similar by just making the hard light darker and darker and darker. So let's go back to that hard light layer, just make it a little bit darker. Maybe a little too dark. Let's see. Let's do well, nothing's too dark because we can always adjust. Let's do this. Let's delete that layer. Add another layer, clip to below, hard light. And then we're going to do something real spicy. Real spicy. Circle or circle, hit black. Just make it pure black. Now, guess what's next? The opacity slider is now our friend. So we're going to move our beautiful black circle over here. And then we're going to select our layer 5, which is the highlight, this black highlight, right? It's funny to say highlight. It's pure dark. It's the dark side. And now we're going to simply slide our way down. You know, something like that, right? And this doesn't have to be exact. This is just a learning moment, right? This is just a learning moment that if you want something to have shadow, you can do it very simply. You don't have to keep grabbing new colors and then adding those colors in. Most artists do not do this. They don't go down this road of choosing umpteen million colors and coloring in something. They don't really do that. They use gradients, they use light sources, hard light layers, and really it's just that simple. It's just that simple. Yes, there are some definite color directions here that the artist has taken, such as these pinkish highlight areas and these hard warm glows that are around the skins and the shading area here. Doing a little bit darker on the sleeve, which could be just a hard light thing, and then of course this little bit of flashing. They chose brown for a flashing light back here. Again, there's some artistic movement within this that is outside of simplicity, right? But when you get to this level, all right, ladies and gentlemen, when you get to this fucking level of artwork, you're going to have some artistic liberties that you take outside of the art of simplicity, right? You're going to have artistic liberties outside of the art of simplicity. That is a very philosophical sentence there, but it is very true because we see it. We're looking at it right now. So at this whole time, so far right now, we're just analyzing colors, kind of getting an idea of how they would have shaded things. This particular artist loves doing a second layer or a second version of the shadowing, or which would be, I guess, like a, man, what is the best word for this? And of course, I'm going to highlight this up for you. So we're going to delete everything that we've done so far. Let me go ahead and delete everything. Get a nice fresh palette. There we go. Create a new layer. And so we're going to analyze this a little bit more and show you what I'm talking about. So just the same with this whole skin scenario here, right? Where there's this this outside line right there. It is also present on the shading of the clothing too. And so essentially we have what you could say is this is the base shade, which is the lightest. Then you have a medium shade right here, and then you have your dark shade right there. So you have three levels of shading. And this will continue throughout pretty much anything. So this would be probably more of a highlight, but needless to say, then you only have one level of shading here. So there's just the base color, and then one level of shading, one level of highlight, and a second level of highlight up here. You do have a gradient that you see throughout the glove, and we can prove this. We can prove that there's a gradient in the glove by taking our color matcher, right? And watch what happens when we start going over top of some of these sections. Look at the color wheel. The color wheel at the bottom is going nuts. You see how it changes from red to yellow to blue to all this stuff, right? Because there is a subtle color change in the palette, and that is how you prove that there is a gradient that is present. And of course, gradients are very easy to achieve. So let's draw a circle again. And then let's just say we want to do a light gradient. And we're going to make it a hard light layer. Then we're going to take our gradient tool, literally a gradient tool, and go whoop. There you go. There you go. It's just that simple. That is a gradient right there. We just created one. And that same gradient is located here. Now, it might have been done differently. A lot of artists don't just simply do the gradient line like that, but you can. Most, like myself, will use a soft airbrush because we want to have directional gradient, because this clearly is a sphere, correct? This is a circle. So we're going to create a sense of sphericalness. I don't know what the best word is. That there is a dark side to this and the light side to this. And of course, we're going to highlight that as best as possible. Now, granted, there is a thing called ambient lighting. So we would actually have a very small, very precise backlighting to this. Because again, nothing is completely without light all the way around. And so as you see there, this is a professional, quote unquote, a professional way of doing gradients. And then of course we could go around the whole thing, and you really kind of get like this planetary essence here, where there's like a nice glow right on the outside of this planet. And then we have a backside. Maybe this might be an asteroid rock. So we got like some highlights and stuff like that, and it's just it peppers it across, blah blah blah. You see what I'm getting at, right? This is what professional artists use. So you will have an airbrush. You use a soft airbrush. These aren't tools that are inaccessible to you. Every single person, everybody in the entire planet has access to these tools. I will never ever ever show anybody how to do something that doesn't have these tools readily accessible right then and there. You shouldn't have to purchase anything. You shouldn't have to be like, oh, well, I want this custom tool because this artist used that. You shouldn't have to do that. Is it sometimes more work? Sure. Because obviously custom tools are to make your job easier, but here's the thing. It's only easier when you know how to use them. So you have to learn the basics first before you get to these advanced levels that some of these artists will do. And like, I really don't like watching speed painting and stuff like that. And I will notice a custom brush that's being used, and I'll be like, well, I obviously can't do this. And the reason being is because I can't do the same thing you're doing, because I have to alter whatever you're doing to accomplish approximately the same thing. And we're kind of doing this with Ambi too, but the best thing about anime characters is that they are, for the most part, fairly simple in their construction, even though we would like to say that this is very complex. Of which, as far as the end product is concerned, it is. This is a complex character. So, we've done a lot of analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have spent 47 minutes, probably not that long, probably about a half hour. We spent about a half hour so far just analyzing how this artist has created Ambi as far as just coloring and shading. Let's see here. Let's get rid of this robot. We don't like robots. Robots are not welcome here. Even in Star Wars, they didn't like robots. So ban. We're gonna ban you, little robot. See you later. Check some stuff real quick. Okay. All right. So now let's really dig in deep on how are we going to achieve this kind of styling. Like, again, I personally want to achieve this. This is a dream type of styling. Like, if I can get this down, my artwork is going to level up. All right, so there's that. I'm turning the music down on my own computer, but I am boosting the levels up on my stream, so that way it kind of equals out. That way I can think a little bit better. Think a little bit better. That's all, folks. Okay, so I know I'm kind of skipping over here because I'm just trying to figure out where I want to begin, and of course I know where I'm going to begin, but I'm wanting to make sure I finished my explanation here, which is this. When I first seen these characters by Hoyoverse, I was very captivated by the artwork. It is so damn good. It is so vibrant. It's clean. I love fucking clean artwork. And this is good stuff. This is mwah, chef's kiss. Okay. First and foremost, before we even worry about clothing, before we worry about hair, we don't need to worry about nothing. We have to figure out anatomy and the shapes that create the anatomy. And so in order for us to do this, we are going to have to reverse engineer Ambi. We're going to have to do it. We have to reverse engineer Ambi. So how do we do this? How do we achieve this reverse engineering? Some things are going to be easier than others, and that is because of experience. And other things are going to be very hard, even with experience, right? But we're going to take this a step. This is a learning moment, not only for me, but for you as well. And first thing I want to do is I want to turn the opacity down on Ambi. I'm also going to give her a complete white background here. Oh my goodness. Delete that. We're going to put this layer behind Ambi, and we're just going to take our paint bucket and fill it white. So now, when we bring Ambi back, we have an actual good background, because without it, this right here is what happens. But with it, we have this. So this is much more clear to work with. So this is, you know, part of ripping images off the internet using screenshot and whatever else you desire. Getting an image onto your canvas, this is how you're going to do it. Now, granted, as you know, I like using 20% opacity. 20% is really freaking good because it's there, but it's not there. Now we're going to use another layer. So create a whole other layer. This is now where we get into the business. This is where we get into the business. So I'm going to pick my nice light blues. I like using blues. Blues are nice. I'm going to use a between size. So as we learned, remember, Ambi's artist uses a size 4 for the outside art and a size 2 for the inside art. So we're going to use a size 3. And basically what this is going to let me do is go ahead and map out the anatomy of Ambi. So the first thing I want to work on, and this is something too that you have to do as an artist, you must be able to focus on one part at a time. If you start bouncing around and doing an arm here, then you want to work on the hand there, then you're going to come back up to the head. No, stop it. Don't do that. Focus on one thing at a time. And then when you zoom out from your artwork, and you've seen this too, right? Anybody who's watched my art streams, they've seen this, where I focus on one thing and then I'll zoom out and see what's going on. And then I'll be like, oh, that actually needs to be changed. And I'll go back in here and I'll zoom right back into where I was focused in, and I will do my thing, right? That's just how you need to do this. Maybe some people are good at bouncing around, but I'm not. So we're going to get nice and personal with Miss Ambi. First thing I actually kind of want to do is get a perspective line. And this is just my personal self. You are learning how I would learn. So if you like how I learn, great. If you don't, I'm sorry. So Ambi's look is clearly in this direction. Her eyes are more level like this. Let's see here. Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good. But we also need to take her nose into consideration. So her nose is right here. Her nose is right there, so that would mean that her center line is like this, essentially. There we go. And then her eyes are right there. So the middle point of her head is right there. And then her actual head, because hair is actually off the top of the skull, so I'm not going to do this. That would be incorrect. What I actually want to do is take her chin point and it obviously goes off this way, and it would go off this way. Because the eyes are going to be pretty close to the edges, right? So there's not going to be a whole lot, like her cheek doesn't go all the way out here then come back in. This is actually where her ears would probably be. Would be somewhere around there. And of course this would be true because this is where her earmuffs are. I didn't even, see, this is just part of experience, right? I didn't even bother looking at where her headphones are. I just know that her ears would be in this general location here. And then, since we're going out at this angle, we're just going to keep going. And we see the curve, right? We see this curve with her bangs. So we can assume this is just an assumption line, right? This is not how the artist actually does this. This is just an assumption line. This is all just assumption line. And then the eyes are this size here. And it's good to go ahead and outline these eyes because, again, if you're trying to match a style or learn a style, you kind of want to get a good idea of how large these proportions are. And also what you're doing by doing this is you are kind of getting an idea of spacing. So we see this circle here, and this circle here. They're almost the same size, aren't they? So we could say that her head at any point in time in this particular perspective, if you drew 3 like circles together, close together or whatever, you would essentially have her eye spacing and where her irises would actually be, where her middle of her eyes would be. But again, this spacing is very important because you're going to learn, we're learning how much spacing we need to give our characters when we are in these kind of perspectives. So I'm going to do this a little better here. Because if we take off Ambi, this is essentially what we have right now. Not too bad of a head. And we're back. And so we have, I'm gonna have to go sideways. We're going sideways. And also, I've actually said this before. Many times, eyes are actually never really the same size. So if we think about this, right? Let's put this back. So this is Ambi's eye on this side. Right, so that's about Ambi's eye on this side. We take this. We hit edit, copy, edit, paste. And then we're going to flip it. So this would be essentially her eye on the other side, right? Does not match. So not only if we made this smaller, right? Because her eye does not go as far as this eye on this side. When we make it smaller, we'll look at how much extra eye is on this side. We'd have to do that much to get the rest of the eye on this side. These eyes don't match. But do you care or do you notice this? No, of course not. Because it's the big picture. It's the big picture that we're always worried about. And so if we focus on fine details about matching eyes and these eyes need to match, and then you're gonna drive yourself nuts. Many times artists do not create the same eyeball or anything like that. It might be because the hair is covering it. There's a lot of little tricks of the trade to get around symmetry. Because if your overall end product, if your overall end product is this, no one's gonna give a shit. Literally no one. And I understand. I completely understand. So we're gonna flip her this way because I want to get a little bit more accurate of a line here. of understanding how far. Now the eyes right here are actually like the same level, so this is a good, like he definitely, he or she uses this line very well. This line, however, up top here, more of a suggestion. More of a suggestion line. And if we take ambi off, so now there's our line, and then we know that the spacing should be here and here. And then our eye can basically go wherever the fuck it wants. So I can create my own eyes like this. Right? And this goes into the whole thing of the whole idea, right? Of me wanting to create my own character. See what we're doing? You see what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen? You see what we're doing? We're just using and understanding the body plan, and maybe I want to like a cute little cat character, right? Maybe I want to do a little cute cat character. And my cute little cat character is doing this. Look at that. We're already creating something really freaking cool just by following the guidelines of the artist and understanding the spacing and so on and so forth. So like one eyeball is right here and the other one is right here, right? Very interesting, because so basically they go in at like an angle. So they're not, and this is something new. Like I usually go like straight up and down, right? And this isn't bad, but these guys actually go at an angle. Missed that angle. And here's another thing too. When you start learning this stuff, try and be able to freehand what you're looking at. So I know that my line memory now, to make that eyeball, I got to do this. I have to do this to make that eyeball. And so now if I blink it off, see? This is how you learn to do an art style. So, and granted, now obviously this is just for one pose, right? But the best thing about artists who, and of course, make characters constantly, and you have a shit ton of characters you have a shit ton of poses of ambi online to use. So if I really wanted to really grasp a whole field of how they pose ambi and so on and so forth, and how her eyes change with each of these poses, maybe this is a constant, right? I don't know if this is a constant or not. But again, that's their style choice, and if I want to try and follow that, then that's cool. But needless to say, you know, you can learn. This is why there's so much fan art of everything else, because there's so many examples of it. That's why there's so much fan art of Sonic and Goku and Vegeta and Luffy and all these wonderful characters that have been created by people, amazing artists and creators. And we are blessed to have so many examples of them in different poses, different screenshots, whether that be in video games or TV shows or whatever have you, movies, that we can really analyze these characters and really analyze these styles to be able to emulate them in our own way. And that's really the biggest thing here. We are, like I said, we are not trying to copy ambi in any way, shape, or form. We are trying to learn how this artist would have done this character. And so far, we have a head. So far, we have a head. It's a very clean head. Like, I really like this head. You know, and of course, like I said, hair is never going to be just flat with the skull, right? Hair is always above the skull in some way, shape, or form. And that's just how it is. That's just how it works. Don't try to question it. Don't try to think it's anything different or whatever. That's just how it works. So this is why we have to kind of have an idea, and why I work with the lower face. If I am trying to learn a style, the lower face is going to tell me pretty much everything I need to know. And the same goes for if you're trying to do Dragon Ball Z, whatever. Don't start with the hair. Don't start with accessories. None of this matters. It doesn't matter worth a shit because it doesn't tell you where the actual head is. You have to kind of feel it out, and the best way to do that is to look at the lower face. Now, if your character has a mask on, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you on that one. That one's gonna be a tough one if your character has a mask on. All right, so we're gonna go back to our nice little blue color, and so we see here that her neck is cocked to the side a little bit. That's fine. And then I like to draw cylinders. Cylinders are very popular. Granted, I have no idea what this artist does for their, like, how they map out their body parts and stuff like that. Doesn't matter. We're just trying to figure out these shapes. So it comes down like this and like this. So I can imagine if the clavicle is right here, something like that. Possible. Possible. We're still analyzing. Lots of analyzing. Notice how I'm not going off with the shoulder, right? I don't give a shit about that right now. I don't care about these traps and shoulders and stuff. That doesn't matter. I'm trying to figure out how far down does this artist go for their neck. And it's about like that. So if we take this off, that is Ambi's neck right there. And of course, you know, she has a choker, but her choker is like going up in this direction. And so this would all be black and all this shit right here. But needless to say, so in the essence of knowing how the artist put the choker on, which is this direction, the line goes this way. So basically, what the artist is trying to tell me is like the neck is like it's actually, I don't know truly if it's correct. I feel like the choker should actually be more like this, but I don't know. He has a choker like this. What if he had a choker like this? Of course, he or she, I don't know who actually did this, but needless to say. I think either way would be just fine. That is, I'll chalk that up to its artistic styling. It is what it is. Okay, so obviously the neck is a rotational piece, so I just like to put a little ball in there. And so probably right where the clavicle is. I don't know if that's actually the correct way to say that, clavicle. But what we do from here is if we are going, let's just do the arms next. So if I was to make this myself, right, I would do something like this. So here's the end of one shoulder and the end of other shoulder. So these lines, this would line up. This would be the bottom. And then, of course, from here, I would have my shoulders doing exactly what is pictured here. So I got that. Actually, I'm gonna bring back that line. That was a good line. This one, and so really we would make, and I'm doing it in my style, right? This is how I create my wireframes and stuff like that. So I'm going to put my circles around here and just kind of like figure this out in my own way, shape, and form. Let's see here. Let's figure out the chest. Let's work on the chest. So we do know that her chest is actually like this. Her clothes are pretty tight right here, so. But that's, her arm is in the way of this, so I need to figure out how they would have blocked this off, how they would have got to this point. So maybe something like this, per se, at first. Because again, I have to try my best to ignore the clothing. Let's zoom in a little bit more here. About there. Because the clothing is going to always be over top of reality. Of the actual body itself. Something like this. Something like that. Of course, we can adjust this later, right? Because if the artist made this here, I don't know if they would actually have done this. They may have. They may have done this to begin with. Learning. Because once I learn this attachment, we're golden. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, no. Here, so perspective wise, clearly like this. Ambi's bust is fairly small, and figuring out this through the clothes is a little difficult, but we do have one here. In most busts, mind you, no matter what cup size it is, have a very loose diamond shape to them. Might have to darken this up a little bit, meaning bring back some of that opacity to see if I can see the other one, but I really don't have a whole lot of information here. Only thing I can work with is assumption. Because if the bottom of the breast is sitting on top of this, this is a difficult one because the clothing really does create a challenge. But that's part of it, isn't it? This is all part of the process. As soon as I get the shape that is being used here, it's game over. Do they do this? Oh, I bet that's what they do.
they do a reverse triangle like what I do. You know how when I make my characters, if you've seen how I made Kitsukai, and so, you know, here's my head, and then my shoulders and stuff, and then I'll go from the shoulders and I'll do this. This artist essentially does this. As you can see. I see now. I think this is, of course, all just assuming. So let's back this up a little bit. This is a little bit more advanced. I think this is more clothing choice at this point than anything. We're really trying to hone in on the very basic framing of this character. Now, I like this. This shoulder circle should be right about here, and this one should be right about here. Maybe a little further back than that, about. Because then, naturally, as I want to, and this is just my experience, I want to do one of these numbers here, right? Which is just do a little curve, and get that shoulder in there. That's why, very interesting. Again, I'm just trying to learn about breast placement. I do have a little bit of something to work over here, but I don't have much. All right, let's worry about the arms later, because maybe once we discover how the rest of this waist is done, we'll have an easier time. Interesting. I don't believe they use any circles at all. And of course, this might be just to the level of that, what they have gotten to, right? Okay. Now, granted, like I said, I'm going after shapes. I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, do all the like. No, I don't care about that. No one should care about that. That is afterthought process, right? All these little, like these lovely little bumps and stuff from the clothing accessories hugging the skin and stuff like that. That's an afterthought. That's not poor design. It seems like they do banding, and what banding is this right here. So at their joints, they will make a little band to show where the next like section should go, because their knees are fairly large. Again, this is not a shape that is like naturally, or like, at least for me, I wouldn't draw that. This would be actually further, because her ankle should be right there. Again, the shoe is not skin tight, right? So there's going to be material outside of this. So we're just trying to get the idea of the foot and how that foot would be placed in the shoe. And so technically, that would be the cutoff. Very interesting, because we draw a straight line, right? This shape is very unique. Granted, it is a muscle shape. This section here, very unique. This muscle shape is pretty traditional, but like And granted, that little knob right there from the inside of your foot, it's a little much, but you know. There you go. Just really trying to feel out these shapes. I'm not trying to be as designerful as I am right now. I feel like I'm actually doing too much. Not saying that I can't learn this, right? And just be able to reproduce that, like over here, you know, do. And then if I knew that my line was going this way, my kneecap was right there, then I'd draw my band, and that would be my knee right there. And then my other line would go this way. Nope. Because it's just a little bulge and then it comes right back in. But it does not meet up with that line though. This is maybe thicker. Every bit of that needs to be thicker. Every bit of that needs to be thicker. But needless to say, you know, this is what we're trying to achieve, right? We're trying to get to this point of understanding these shapes, and like I'm already showing you, and I'm already proving that if you start to get too complex with these designs, you're not really learning anything, because these are very what's the best word to use here? These are not beginner lines. Weird to say that, but this right here and this right here are not beginner lines. So to make this simpler, because the line isn't completely straight. It is to a degree, but it isn't. But knowing how these knees are, this side of this line is very thin, while the other side, the opposite side, is very thick. So if we can keep that in mind, the thickness does change on each side of the line. So the inside, the interior here, right? This whole interior, these are thinner than the outside areas over here. So that's something that is actually valuable knowledge to have at this point in time. This is valuable knowledge. So knowing that when we create these characters, the insides are going to be thinner than the outside. Yeah, I can't even draw like how a cylinder would fit in here. Much and more of this, from what I see, is just knowledge, right? Knowledge of the human body and how they want to make things. And this artist has probably been doing this stuff for so long that, you know, even this basic outline is probably nothing to them. But they graduated from this a long time ago. This is a fairly easy line because really we're just, it is pretty ovular, right? And then of course we can add, when we get to details, we can add the thickness to it, and we can add the skin bumps and stuff once we figure out what kind of clothing we want on this character, etc., etc. So far this is what we got. Ambi's a little thick. Ambi is just a little thick. Thick in them hips. All right. This is definitely advanced, so we're just going to have to map this out as best as possible, and then be sure that we just emulate this as best as we can, right? That's as good as I can tell you what to do with this. Like I said, I want to imagine that they do banding. So they might not do these circles per se. Maybe for the knees they do, but the banding, I believe. So her foot is in 3/4. Now we can re-alter this a little bit. Her foot goes like her toes would be here. Okay, so far, we are trying to figure this out. We are trying to figure this out. Now, probably a question that you ask yourself is, well, what about tracing? Because, you know, this you could say is like the very baby of tracing, because really a pose is not owned by anybody per se. You might be able to argue this a little bit, but a pose is a pose, which means that any human or anatomical biological creature can function in this pose in any way, shape, or form, no matter who they are. I could draw a male character in this pose. I could draw a female character in this, whatever. I can draw whatever I want in this pose. It's when the whole idea of tracing comes into be was if I am the hairstyle, the eye shape, the clothing is a big one. Clothing and hairstyle are huge. And of course, any accessories and stuff like that. When you start just doing that and not doing what I'm doing, yes, you're tracing. And on top of that, you're really not learning a whole lot because you're not understanding how this stuff is constructed. We have to be able to figure out these shapes. We have to get to the basics. We have to find out what the hell did this artist do to start? Like, where did this guy start? Well, of course, where he or she started was with a pose. And in that pose, how did you get this pose? How did you have your arms oriented? what shapes did you use for your arms? Because clearly you put clothing on top of them, but you know, we need to know what you did. And since I can't ever find a video of you doing this, granted, there might be a video out there. I don't know if there's a Hoyo artist that has done videos on their art and stuff like that. But needless to say, I'm going to assume that they can't do that because it's probably a trade secret or some shit like that, right? They probably have a non-disclosure form for artwork. I wouldn't doubt it. But needless to say, us plebs, us general public artists, we have to be able to deconstruct. We have to ignore the skirt, ignore the sword, ignore these big sleeves, ignore all this extra stuff, and figure out what's the general shape of your character. And so far, I think we're doing okay. This is clearly not perfect, and it probably is far from what they actually do. But needless to say, we're getting it done. So now I got to figure out this thing. So her shoulder drops like this, and then her other shoulder comes out on this side, right? And then this one would be like this. Ambi's got some fucking shoulders. Like, her arms are out there. And really her back would be like this, but it doesn't make sense. This upper portion is what's giving me some problems. Because if we think about the shoulder blades, it should be right there. And then, of course, we have the back, right? And this simply might be something that we just simply have to accept that it is what it is, and just go straight into the socket. So this would be the socket where the arm sits, and then this would be the socket over here where that arm sits. And then, so her bicep. So if this is her elbow out here, right? And then her forearm goes over here. She's got some, I mean, I don't think she has long arms. She probably has appropriate sized arms. This would be the arm, this would be the pit right there for the other one. And then technically her bicep, everything should end right about here. And then the other part of her arm should go like this. But see what I'm talking about, that banding? Even I started doing some banding myself because it's like there's some extra space. This artist gives some extra space in these areas that I normally would not. And so this is something I'm learning for myself too, because I don't give myself this extra space. I don't band the knee area. But if I'm looking at my own, leg and my knee, it is a band. It is a band. So, you know, I'm learning how to do stuff myself at this point in time. So I need to be able to make these bands, of which this elbow is going to be like a triangle here. But that's not going to be her elbow either. There's no way. Hold on. Hold on. Let's do this like we did on the other side. And reason why I made it this way is because if we take this arm, right, and we edit, copy, edit, paste, see how it's approximately the same size, right? That's just from my own experiences. So, and we already know that this clothing is huge. So it would not be unreasonable to know that this actually is off the elbow some ways. I said that elbow is going to be a triangle or a square at this point. I'm kind of thinking. And then her forearm. Should be like this. Similar. It's definitely got a lot of foreshortening to it because of the fact that it's coming at us. So the lines would be very close together versus the lines over here would be very far apart. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? And then as far as the hand goes, pretty basic. And then one, two, three, four, and then her thumb is somewhere over there, which is fine. Alright, so hand is pretty basic. I mean, it's because yeah. Interesting. All right. So, in the essence, this is the pose. I would be curious to know how far off I am. I don't think I'm that far off because clearly we've achieved the pose. Now it's just a matter of figuring out the idea of clothing. And that's, you know, that's a big one. That's a big one. Clothing. Oof. Sorry for bumps. Clothing is incredibly difficult, especially when we are getting to this level of detail. And of course, you know, just coming up with this type of clothing in general is pretty freaking crazy. But we can do this. We can map it out. So get down to 20. Get this down to 50, I think. 50 would be good. 40 maybe. And we'll drop this to like 15. And then we'll create a new layer. The next thing I want to do though is actual physical features, right? So the next thing I want to do is to actually go through and get her eyes right. We are going to drop down to a level 2 or a size 2 and just kind of feel out the eyes and the hair and all this other stuff, which really we don't have much left to do. We don't have fingernails or toes or anything like that to worry about. Pretty much got a belly button here. We'll just go ahead and throw that in right now. And then it's her hair and her face. So Anby has this style of eye, and they do like 2 little dots right there. Okay. Nose. Tiny mouth. Tiny mouth. Eyebrow, and her other eyebrow, if they're spaced about the same, should be right about here. And then of course we don't know about ears because her ears are covered up. So we're not going to worry about those, but we kind of already made an assumption of where they should be anyways. But they should be probably like right about here. Granted, I would have to look at other Zenless Zone characters that actually have visible ears to see how they actually draw their ears. So I can't make those assumptions. I have to stray away from that. I can't do that. So as far as eyes go, like this is a very generic shape. Like this isn't, not saying it's not special or anything like that, but this is something that's very easily done. Everyone does this. So I don't even have any qualms about quote unquote tracing these eyes. Like that's pretty basic. Pretty anime specific. Usually, you know, they'll draw like the little eyelids and stuff too, like that. And of course we have like our blush lines, which don't exist on Anby, but I'm just saying you could put them on there if you wanted to. Of course, it you know, it's fan art right at that point. Man, so many bots to ban today. So many bots to ban. I love banning bots. It's my favorite thing to do. Alright, so now we're going to learn how they actually make Anby's hair. And so they choose a point, and this is the point that they chose above the head. And they essentially just went to town like this. They created a flat spot. And this is a fairly easy hairstyle. I don't. It's not wild. It's not anything that's like, oh my god, this is crazy, man. This was crazy. Really, that's all this is. Now, granted, the back of her head over here might be a little hard because they decided to put these accessories on, but if we follow this line, should be approximately like that. That is Ambi without any headphones on. Again, the reason why I'm doing this is I want to learn, and this hair seems to go. So he or she does some pretty major like lineage going on here. Okay. It's interesting that this hair melds into the back of her other hair. It's very AI. No, I know that this is a style. So I know this is a style. So she has I never noticed that she had like this little braid. That was kind of interesting. This hairline back here, we wouldn't be drawing really any lines at this point, because as an artist, we would already know, like, this is her hair would be going in the back there. I am liking to learn how to put tendrils in. This is really nice. I like this. This is cool because I have trouble with that myself, which is like how am I going to connect other types of lines to make like these hair strands going places. And so it's nice actually being able to draw this and understand how they do it. And we're not looking for an exact copy, of course. But, I mean, we're damn close because we're trying to learn. But this back area is very strange to me. Because I'm also looking at this from the artist's perspective, right? Like, so if I'm drawing Ambi's hair, like this, I'm having a lot of fun with. This is my personal take, right? I would draw something like this. This would be my personal, like, how I would do Ambi's hair. This interesting, like, little bubble, blah blah blah, I don't know what to call that. It doesn't really match the aesthetic of the rest of it. So if we just take this off, like, this is my version of Ambi's hair, right? Which is a nice, like, clean cut. But their version is something like this. We have that. Well, we unfortunately can't go forward. But yeah, I like this much better because we already have something similar to like this, up over here, right? Which is over the top of her head. So continuing these types of flat line hairs, I think would have been a better direction. But again, that's my own artistic, like, look on it. But needless to say, we have Ambi's hair. It was pretty simple to put together. It was nice to know where the point is. Like I said, you need to know where that point is, where they start the front bangs. And then you just kind of, go from there. And then the back of the head is your next line of bangs, which they just made this whole side here, and this side was like separate, which is fine. I'm just learning, so there you go. And really, that's her major features, right? The belly button and her hair and eyes, and that's it. Of course, her eyebrow would be covered up completely. Some people have the hair translucent or show the eyebrows through the hair, but obviously, Ambi, the artist does not do this, so we would hide that eyebrow. And then this would be shortened up a little bit because her hair is going over top of her eye. And then this would be erased as well, so on and so forth, right? But we're just still mapping things out. And this would be erased. And this line would go away. And it would be connected just like that. Oh, I accidentally deleted my little one. I was like, I thought she had one more. She did. And these are very simple. Like, they don't even have much construction to them at all. Yeah, as far as hand construction goes, very simple. Like, I didn't think it was that simple, but it is. All right. So what we have learned so far is figuring out what shapes were used in the production of this character. And of course, what we have to remember is if I were to make this character again in any other pose, I need to know that they make this shape here for the breast area, a rib cage section, a stomach section, and then bladder, genital section, and then thighs, a knee band, and then the calves, and then the feet from there. And then from here, this upper portion is really giving me trouble because luckily, because I have the head and neck and then this general shape here, I can figure out this shoulder stuff. This is not a big deal. I can figure this out. I can figure the rest of this stuff out. Not bad. I think I'm okay with arms. Arms are okay with me. Legs I'm a little have trouble with, but needless to say, there you go. And as far as the face and stuff goes, not too bad. That was actually much simpler than what I thought it was going to be. And really my favorite part so far is learning these tendrils. This is something I do not put in my artwork, and obviously I plan to do that now. So there you go. Especially with my girl characters and feminine boys and or just male characters in general. Just anything that has like at least any sort of volume of hair I'll be putting these in there at some point in time, or incorporating them. That's the word I was looking for, incorporating them. Now this right here, her belly button. I know it's like right here, right? That's it right there. But if I'm looking at the actual like line, I feel like it needs to be actually right there. That's what makes more sense to me. I think it looks better too. If anybody were to look at this belly button here, and then if I move it right there and put it right on that line, I mean, that's just me, right? That's just me. That's just me. I do like that I unintentionally and unironically made the feet pretty level. We can check this by taking the line tool, right? Remember, I think I taught this before. And so we're going to take this bottom heel or bottom toe line and press shift and then go all the way. Look at that. That's pretty phenomenal. So yeah, we pretty much made a level representation of the shoes, of which if we look at the shoes themselves, let's take this bottom line here, press shift and go over. Yeah, the shoes also fit on that line. So yes, we did proper spacing with the feet, with her little toesies. We did fine. Okay. The big one. The big one. Big one. Big, the big one, baby. And that is mapping out her clothes. Whew. And of course, the clothes would be on a completely separate layer. And we're going to boost this up to 25%, 26 maybe. We might go to 30. Yeah, 30 is pretty good because we really need to know how these shapes are made. Very intricate clothing, especially her like little I shouldn't say little, it's whatever this giant sheath backpack thing is back here where she puts her blade in, right? I mean, she's got like a friggin' soda can on this thing. She's got, I mean, really, if you want my personal opinion, it's just a mesh of parts put together. And I know that's a lot of things too, right? You put stuff on that makes it look good, and then all you have to do is just remember that that's what you did. And then so whenever you have the character turn around, and it's a lot easier when you make a 3D model of it, but when you're making 2D stuff and you make her in a different position, the other side of this, right, the back side of this sword sheath that she has, you know, might have different stuff on it, but you know, you have to finish whatever this is that you were making. You know, if we start making these basic shapes for this sword sheath, and of course she has a backpack too, but I don't think she has her backpack on. I don't see her backpack. But you know, you're yeah, it's just a complex thing. I mean, it's just, I think what you're basically looking at is the artist having fun. This is what this is like. Figuring out this right here, right? This is really the basics of any anime art. Really, at this point in time, we can give Ambi a whole new set of clothes. Like, just to give an example, right? Let's just say we want to give her like, I don't know. Let's just say we have like a cool like ring thing going on here. I don't even know. Let's see here. Let's go. Again, I'm just giving examples, right? Just like I'm saying, we can do whatever we want. You know, like I was kind of getting at, like, once you have the body plan for something, right? We can do all sorts of like cool things. We can just let our imagination just go. So she's like in this interesting like bathing suit. And like maybe she's got like this really cool, like, I don't know. Who knows? Like but needless to say, like, we can just go off the rails. And just give Ambi like a super just. Let's see how did, okay, so they go this way. Same would be for her belts too. No, her belts go the other way. Yeah, she does. So, I mean, again, this was just an example, right? Like, we don't have to go down that direction, and on top of that, we can give Ambi any clothing we want. We can change some things and give her this interesting bathing suit. I mean, most of it doesn't have to make sense. In fact, I'm sure all any of my dudes and dudettes and anybody who's interested in Ambi probably is like, oh my god, this is fantastic, dude. You need to finish. You need to go ahead and finish this. You need to finish this right now. You need to finish this right the fuck now. But I was just letting you know, like, so we can keep this pose, and this at this point in time would be considered fan art because of the fact that it's not quite a direct copy, and of course the clothing is not literally the same, and we could change things up and so on and so forth. But you know, what I really wanted to show though is this mapping clothes and clothes mapping in general. You know, we always want to do it on a separate layer, and when we have multiple layer clothing like this, we're going to take these away real quick and analyze clothing. We're going to talk about clothing now. Since we've done that part, we're going to talk about clothing, and then I'm going to cut the stream here for this art episode, and we will try our best to emulate this. But when it comes to clothing, you know, the first thing that this person did is, you know, make a jacket, right? That's the first thing that happened. Is like, okay, let's make a jacket, and you know, it stops right there, and it's open over here, and then let's you know, draw this right here, and that over there, and so they made a jacket first, and then they maybe, you know, added the hoodie, and they're like, okay, let's worry about those details later. And I'm like, oh, you know what would be cool? Let's do like a little strap system here, and like this will go across there, and this will go across there, and we'll hug that a little bit more. And then this would be a separate layer, mind you. This would be a completely separate layer. This top green strap would be a separate layer from the jacket. But obviously this is on top of these straps right here. So this is a multi-layered piece of clothing. And that's just the jacket, right? So this development stuff is using these basic shapes first, and then making a complex design. Like, that's the most complex thing about Ambi, is her clothing. That is it. Everything else is I'm not going to say simple, right? But it is easier to understand. You know, when we got to this point, well, not this point, but when we got to this point here, I feel like a lot of people who will watch this and try to follow along or do something similar with a character that they like will find that mapping out your character, mapping out this in this way is a lot easier to achieve than to go down the road of clothing. You know, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. Hopefully y'all learned a lot. I've learned some new things, like especially with the hair. You know, I'm going to start practicing a lot, and this is not going to be the first time. You don't just do this once, right? This whole thing of Ambi, guess what I'm going to do next episode? I'm going to do this over again. I'm going to do it over again, and over again, and over again, and over again, and over again, until I understand as best to my ability this is what I want to know. I could give two shits less about hair. I could give two shits less about eyes. None of that stuff matters, because if you cannot get this, if you can't find a way to get here, nothing else matters. And this is true. It's just the truth. You cannot go further. You cannot get to this point, and you most certainly cannot get to this point without having a good base. This is why they call it bases. This is why in the furry space, it doesn't matter what level of art, everyone calls them references and bases. If you do not have a good constructed base to start with. It doesn't matter what you make, because look at, I mean, this clothing right here, a lot of people are gonna find that's pretty fucking hot. We didn't do much. All we did was we just added some skimpy clothing to a female base, and we were able to create at least a little bit of something different. We didn't go this way, this route, but we're gonna learn. We have to. If I want to get to this level of designing, character design, I need to be able to figure out how the fuck did someone come up with this. And really, the end of this whole series and learning how to draw like a Hoyoverse artist hopefully will end with me being able to make my own Hoyoverse character, my complete own design, my own thing. I have actually a couple ideas in my head, and hopefully I can create a Hoyoverse character that looks like, holy shit, is this a leak? Is this character coming to the game? That is my goal. So hopefully you will join me in this journey and figuring out if we can get there. This is going to be quite some time because I don't have a whole lot of time to do this. Hopefully tomorrow I will be able to do more of this since it's another day off for me, and be able to really map out clothing and kind of get an idea of how they came up with this kind of design work. And of course, these characters follow the same theme too, right? These big bolts like this, this chonky machinery like this, all of the characters share these traits. And so if I can look at the Hoyoverse character lineup and be like, okay, I need to make my bolts this thick. I need to make my straps this thick. I need to add like the little dangly-do like this in the front chest area. I need to make the skirts like this. I know the skirts are pleated, so the skirts are going to be easy. Skirts are always easy. But needless to say, like we will get to that point. We will get there. We just need to learn how to do it, and we got to be self-taught. This is what self-teaching is, by the way. If you didn't know how to teach yourself to be an artist, this is how you got to do it. No one's, well, I can't say no one because I'm doing it, right? But no one is going to provide you the tools necessary for your own successes as an artist. Most artists, or self-proclaimed artists, or those that have went to college and so on and so forth, or have been in the industry for God knows how long, obviously their art for the most part is behind a paywall, meaning you're not going to know how they did the thing, even when they try to explain it to you, even when they quote, I know you don't see my fingers, but quote unquote show you the process and stuff. They really don't show you that process. I am showing you the process. I am going to do my damnedest to not only show you how I'm doing this, but I'm learning too. So I have no reason to hide or to try and say, well, I'm going to do this off stream and then I'll show you how I got there. And then it to me that's a waste of knowledge, and that doesn't help anybody who wants to be an artist. So that all being said, I really hope that you enjoyed watching this. Anybody that came in, obviously Uzi, you're awesome. Uzi's always awesome. That you enjoyed it and that you learned something today. And for anybody that is watching this on YouTube, again, same concept. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something today, and that you give me a like, comment, and subscribe. Come on, help me out a little bit. I'm not begging. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want to do. This is your host, Samurai Kit Kat, and you have yourself a shoo-body boo-bop, shoo-body boo-bop, shoo-body boo-bop, shoo-body boo-bop. Good day. Ah. See ya.